I'd like to ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Carol, will you lead us?
Sure.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any public comments this morning? Seeing none. The first thing I'd like to do is to thank Harry Merrow for his longtime service as a...
You're telling me this is my last meeting? Good.
as a state representative, and I know that we will miss your wise counsel and thought processes, not only here at the Carroll County Delegation, but also down in Concord. And so, Harry, best of luck to you, and enjoy your retirement. And when you find that life isn't exciting enough, you can always run again. Okay? So, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. I think the rest of us are up for re-election, and the election will be occurring on November 4th. So I certainly encourage anyone who is watching us this morning to go to the polls and exercise your right to vote. So, although not on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Could I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Are there any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Just so everyone knows, there is a debate going on this morning up in Conway. And so I promised that we would be out of our meeting here by 11 o'clock. And as a result of that, I am going to put the appropriations policy and the grant approval policy on hold until our next meeting. And our next meeting will be December 10th, is that correct?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, sometime
First week
around.
of December.
Well, it's actually the second week of December. But it must occur the 7 days after we're sworn in. And the date for being sworn in this year is December 3rd. So we will add those two things to the agenda for the December 10th meeting. So, the performance audit. At our last meeting, Alan went over the draft. We made some recommendations for things that needed to be included. He presented the final to the chairman of the Performance Audit Committee, and so I would ask Mark to make his comments and recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The electronic final distribution was sent to the delegation, I think a couple times, but I think again as recently as last week. Sitting right here are hard copies for those that would like a hard copy, and we'll open that up and pass those later. I will just highlight a couple items from that report, and then I will offer a motion. Okay. The subcommittee worked long and worked well with the Matrix group to pull this audit together. And in any report, there are some shortcomings and there are some findings that might need a little improvement, and there are some items that are working very well. I'm just going to highlight 5 things from the audit itself. And these come from the matrix. Number 1, there's not a strong focus on oversight or management of the day-to-day operations of the county organization. An organization the size and complexity of Carroll County requires ongoing and active management, either by the commissioners or through appointed position. 2, despite relative recent issues that have arisen regarding theft of funds, the county has not significantly improved key financial practices. The risk and liability within the county for future problem remains. 3, the county has not conducted a financial audit for 3 years. While this issue is being currently addressed, there is significant failure of the county to meet a basic financial obligation. Next, the county has outsourced the preparation of financial statements, but this was done with limited oversight by county staff. The contracting out of the actual preparation does not absolve county staff for ensuring that financial statements are accurate. And last item that I'm going to highlight, ensure that bank statements are reconciled by the end of the month following receipt of statement. Also, the business office should take proactive steps to communicate with departments that they have reoccurring issues in reporting purchasing amounts that are indifferent than those reported to the bank. There was significant work done on the human resources with many pluses and with some items that I believe are already being worked on. So with that, I would like to offer a motion that the delegation accepts the September 2nd, 2014 performance audit of the county commissioners, 1, and 2, that the commissioners provide the delegation a report that addresses the shortcomings listed in said report no later than December 10th, 2014.
Do I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Representative Cordelli seconds. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had previously reviewed a draft of the performance audit, and at our last meeting, we asked for several changes to be made, or additions, or whatever. Have those been added to the final copy?
Representative McConkey.
It's my understanding that they were. I had a bit of a lapse in time there with the health emergency, and I'm not quite clear as to whether each and every one of them was, but I believe that the report is written showing highest priority, high priority, medium, and low priority in the report. So I believe it is taken care of.
And one more.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize for this.
Sure, go ahead.
Could we repeat the second half of that motion?
Yes.
Commissioners provide the delegation a report that addresses the shortcomings listed in said report no later than December 10th, 2014.
Do you have a follow-up?
You want to speak to that? Go
Thank
ahead.
you. I just find the roles of the commission and the delegation to be a little bit unclear sometimes. And so I'm just wondering if the delegation has the authority to direct this. I believe we could certainly make a request, but as I look at the RSA that authorizes us to do the performance audit, I see very clearly that we do have that authorization, but I don't see so clearly that we have the authority to require them to issue that report. I have no objection to them doing the report. I think it's a great idea. I want the delegation and the commissioners to better clarify their roles.
Thank you. Commissioner Babson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I have no problem addressing Representative McConkey's request, because I think we all ought to be working together to get this thing going in a better direction. However, I think December 1st, Representative McConkey is too short a time. We worked 2 weeks ago, only did a little portion of the health and the human resources, and we didn't get it finished. We've got union contracts coming up that have to be done. We've got a budget that has to be done by December 1st. I don't think we have the time to do, we can get it done, but probably not in a manner that it should be.
Go ahead. Thank you, Commissioner. Good news is, I'm not requesting it's on the 1st, I'm requesting it on the 10th, so that gives you 9 more days to
Thank you.
this work.
Very generous.
Thank you.
If I might, okay. Hopefully what we're looking for is not an answer to the questions, but rather a direction as to where the commission believes they should be going. And that it's not, I certainly recognize, and I think everyone else does, that some of these issues that were raised by the performance audit are going to take not months, but probably a year or more to address and to solve. And so I don't think that Representative McConkey's motion is expecting anything else other than where are you headed and how are you going to track it and what do you think needs to be accomplished? Is that?
That would be a clear representation of my intent.
So that we're not, I don't expect you to, I certainly don't expect you to have answers to all of these because they're, like I said, very in-depth things that need to occur within what the commissioners have. I also recognize that we have an election coming up, and we could see 2 new faces at the at the table, and so it's there's a lot of, I don't want to call it turmoil, but there's the possibility and the option for a lot of change. But the consistency will be there with Commissioner Sorensen. So we just need to, focus on where we're going and what we're going to do and how we expect to proceed. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to say that I think Representative McConkey laid out those 5 points very well, and they're very serious issues. And when you couple this report with the situation with the financial audits, we have a very serious financial problem here in the county that needs to be addressed and needs the highest priority possible for the sake of the integrity of the system and the confidence of the public in what is going on at the Carroll County level, especially when we head into a new tax season and resolve funding issues that might arise out of the financial statements and financial audits.
Thank you. Representative Butler.
Thank you. I'm going to support the motion as proposed, but want to acknowledge that Representative Ticehurst has raised an interesting issue. In the spirit of working together between the commissioners and the delegation, I think it makes sense to have a report and to talk about how we're proceeding. At the same time, I think we probably do have some limits on our authority, and it would be important to acknowledge that.
If I might, I think that our job is not to say, you must do this or you must do that. Our job is to provide overall guidance, support, you know, and that kind of thing, and that it's up to the commissioners to figure out how they're going to proceed. And that's, you know, I don't think any of us want this report to simply be a report to sit on the shelf.
Exactly.
You know.
Madam Chairman, I agree 100% with you. When we started last December, you know, I said that the commissioners would be willing to work with all delegation members, and I think that's what we need to do, even on this auditing. I hate to have people undercutting us. It's a support type thing, working together and getting the job done for the taxpayers and our employees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question. One of the recommendations in the performance audit was for the county to look at administrative assistant or manager. Assistant, I prefer more than the word manager, because manager gives them authority to hire and fire. I'm just curious, is that something that the commissioners would request and the delegation would look at, or is that something that the delegation would request and make it happen?
As you know, the commissioners determine the budget,
Right.
and then the delegation reviews the budget. And so if the commissioners feel that that recommendation ought to be the one that's supported, then they would put it in their budget. If they think that's a recommendation that shouldn't be supported, then they won't put it in their budget. And then it becomes the responsibility of the delegation through the budget process to determine whether or not that was a good or decision or not. So that's how that would go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Would it be improper to ask the commissioners how they feel about administrative assistant?
I would think at this point that it would be improper.
Just
Yeah,
throwing it
and
out.
that as they work through the budget process, they'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Because if you remember, there were two kind of recommendations. One was a county administrator, the other one was a new financial manager. You know, those were the two recommendations in regards to that whole area. And so, you know, they might decide that they want to hire some specialist in financial management, you know, beyond the people that they have, that if, you know, I'm not sure whether we would call them financial managers,
Chief Financial Officer.
you know, or whatever, but that's the sort of thing that the commissioners will have to, in my humble opinion, make a decision on and a recommendation to us.
I'm just curious on how many counties have an administrative manager or
All but-
county administrator?
All but two.
All but two.
All but two. And do we know the Carroll County manager? Do you know?
Is it
Rockingham.
Rockingham?
Seriously?
Yeah. Okay, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. We'll do it by.
Great. The motion is the delegation I have here. Oh, good, thank you. The delegation accepts the September 2nd, 2014 performance audit of the county commissioners, and the commissioners will provide the delegation a report that addresses the shortcomings listed in said report no later than December 10th, 2014, moved by Representative McConkey, seconded by Representative Algren. Representative Algren. Representative Cordelli. Representative Algren?
Yes.
Representative Bucco is not here. Representative Butler, yes. Representative Chandler's not here. Representative Cordelli?
Yes.
Representative Crawford?
Yes.
Representative Lavender?
Yes.
Representative McConkey?
Yes.
Representative Miro?
Yes.
Representative Nelson?
Yes.
Representative Schmidt?
Yes.
Representative Ticehurst?
No.
Representative Umberger?
Yes.
Representative White is not here. Representative Wright is not here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1.
Thank you. Okay, because I've indicated that we will be out of here by 11, we are going to skip over appropriations policy and move to our recommendations for, or with the budget that's coming up, and to hopefully provide some insight as to where we think the county ought to go and what needs to be done. And so I just listed some things. I'm not necessarily going to highlight each one of them, but there are some things that I think we need to make sure occur. And one of those is that during our last budget cycle, we asked that information technology be pulled out and put into a separate thing, and we need to make sure that that's being done. We also were looking at Public Works. We've titled this now Public Works, and that those things need to be identified. That included water, what else? Farm,
Sewer.
maintenance, sewer. Okay, so that, and those were the major things that we talked about. So we just need to be sure that our documents are reflecting that this year. And so it will be, a little bit different sort of process. And also in that same vein, I believe that we had asked for an analysis of the water and sewer departments to determine if they were self-sustaining, and if they weren't self-sustaining, how we were going to get to that point. Because that's a service that's provided not only to ourselves in the county, but also to the community at large. So those are things that, in that area. Performance audit recommendations, I think we have discussed that to some degree. There were also, within the performance audit, there were many other recommendations that could affect the budget. Not just those two things, but several other things. And so I think it becomes important that we look at the performance audit and try to make decisions from a financial standpoint as to where and what we're going to do. Yes.
I was told this morning it would increase our taxes by $1 million if we did everything that was in the performance audit.
And how did they come to that conclusion?
Well, if you hire an administrator, all the programs that were recommended, $15,000 for a program for human resources, another $25,000 for something else. It goes on and on and on. But we will put our recommendation in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yes, Representative Devlin.
It was covered, thank you.
Okay. So anyhow, these are just things and trade-offs that we're going to have to make about, and that's why this is one of the items that I put on there. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I add a couple of other suggestions?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, this is open. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just...
I didn't want you to move on.
No, I'm not moving on.
Okay, is this an appropriate time then? Okay, thank you. So, one of the things I find difficult to fathom is that our fiscal year starts on January 1st, but we don't finish the budget until March, when usually. And we are allowed under law to change our fiscal year so that it would start on July 1st. And that would give a new delegation coming in time to be well-oriented to the county and would allow us to complete our budget before we started spending that money. Or not spending that money when we needed it to because it wasn't in the budget. And there is a process where for the first cycle, you have an 18-month budget, but you don't charge people 18 months worth of taxes. You spread it out in an appropriate way. So I think it would be a good idea for the newly elected delegation to start looking at that. That was one suggestion. And the other had to do with orientation. I think that many delegation members, myself included, would have benefited from an orientation session at the beginning before we jumped into the budget, so that we had a chance to actually see the different facilities that we all make decisions about and meet the people that are managing those facilities and understand better what their challenges are. So I'd just like to suggest that for the next round.
Thank you. Representative Butler.
Thank you. Relative to pulling out IT, will that be a separate department or just a separate department?
Yep.
And in your analysis of water and sewer, as Representative Algren may point out when we talk about the nursing home and the annex, will you look at the capacity and how added programs will impact the capacity?
Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Lavender.
It seems to me that when you're breaking out IT and other things that you want to break out, that instead of breaking it out, you would have two separate. You'd have the budget as we see it now, plus you would have IT broken out as an addendum so that you can look at the whole thing, rather than just doing it one way or the other.
I will allow the commissioners to figure out how to do that. But we definitely want to see IT separate.
It's out.
Okay.
We're working on it.
No matter, how we do it is immaterial to me. But I do certainly understand where Representative Lavender is coming from, because it does give you a clearer understanding of the costs associated with each department. And it may be that when IT is divided out, that it's identified by department within,
That's right.
within the IT, so that you can relate it back and forth. I don't know how they are going to decide to do that, and that's certainly up to them. Okay, labor contracts.
We've
Go ahead.
started union contracts. We met with all three unions. Two of them came into the first meeting with proposals. The third one we'll be meeting with separately for their proposal. We're meeting with our attorney, or at least the team is, tomorrow at 10 o'clock to decide how we're going to handle at least the first two proposals and go from there. But we've got it all scheduled out, and we should be ready to go by the 1st of December.
Representative Conkey?
Thank you for the update, Commissioner. The matrix audit mentions the recommendation of staggered union contracts going forward, as opposed to all three coming at one time. Are the commissioners moving in that direction?
Yes, we will. The first two proposals were for 3-year contracts, but we're still, those are just proposals, and we'll negotiate so that we do stagger the union contract.
Thank you.
That's our goal. We may not get there.
Okay.
One thing, and I'll just mention this, And that is, if in fact you decide on 3-year contracts, whatever you do, it's essential that you understand the impact of the Cadillac tax
That-
and how
We've already talked about that, yep.
and how that will affect the feasibility, if that's the right term, of a
Yeah.
3-year contract. And so Wynette and I did attend, as did Debbie, a session on the Cadillac tax, which was extremely eye-opening to us, or to me anyhow. I can't speak for the other two, but their eyes were like this as well. So, that is something that we need to be very, very cognizant of as we progress through.
Point of clarification, is the subcommittee that looked at health insurance still functioning, or were they dismissed?
I don't think we ever had a...
Yeah, we have,
The
we had a subcommittee.
compensation.
Compensation. And we had done our work a couple of years ago, and that was that.
Okay, so I guess the answer is it's gone.
It's gone, okay.
Representative Cordelli?
Yeah, I think that we did have a subcommittee. We had been awaiting information. I'm not sure, Representative Lavender was our chair. We haven't met over the summer. I was disappointed in that I think that there was work we could and should have done. I had wanted to look at alternatives that I had brought forward for healthcare, based on other models around the country, and some background work I had done in New Hampshire, options in that regard. But I think that's something that still needs to be done going forward.
Well, we have between now and
December 10th.
3 December.
No,
Right.
2016.
So Representative Lavender, the ball's in your court,
Okay.
okay, as to what happens. So, Commissioners, I would suggest that you talk to Representative Lavender and
Not ideal.
see what he's got on his mind. Okay. The first there is projected increases and decreases. I know that you've probably started thinking about the budget. And so this question is really addressed to you to see if you are aware of any increases, decreases, changes in what you're going to propose in the budget. I know that, I believe that the department heads have started talking to you about what's going on and where we are and what sorts of things need to be accomplished.
We've got some changes, I don't know if you want to act on them today or wait till the 10th
Yeah, well,
with the jail.
Okay.
Some transfers within the jail budget.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know what the other two commissioners' agenda is or are, but I know what mine is. We need to increase the legal line limit, legal line appropriation. We need to begin thinking seriously about putting money aside for end-of-life equipment here that have to be replaced. We replaced one boiler, I think it was $40,000 at the jail. We've got 2 more to go. We've got unfunded mandates for retirement and sick pay that are never covered. If 2 or 3 of the long-term employees retire or quit or do whatever, we're gonna take a big whack. That's one of my goals, and I guess that's it for right now, but we've got to begin thinking ahead, and we've never done that.
Okay. Well, you know, as you're trying to put the budget together, these are, you know, things I think that are extremely important. And I don't know whether you have significant maintenance items to do this year. You know, like last year, we replaced the air conditioner on this building.
Yep.
You know, do we have a plan, a maintenance, you know, do we have a plan as to when we might identify or, you know, identify those things? Are there, you know, just, because these are, you know, it's important in order for the delegation to come to grips with the budget, recognizing that we've got the entire county to be concerned with. And Representative Schmidt, I'll let
Thank
you.
you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Babson, as I'm sure all the commissioners are aware, I have been a proponent of establishing a capital reserve account for as long as I've been here. In every budget session, all we as a delegation can do is to review the budget as presented, and the budget as presented has never contained a capital reserve account. So my suggestion would be, Commissioner, is submit a budget with a capital reserve account, and that will offer us the opportunity to look at it and review it and do what we're supposed to do with it. So, I don't know what else I can say on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Babson?
Well, another thing, Madam Chairman, that I didn't mention, we've had extremely high medical costs at the jail. 3 weeks ago, I think I signed 2 checks for the grand total of $29,000. And that was just 2 of them. We've got to do something somehow. We've got to set up a budget that puts these unexpected, very high cost items outside the budget. And I'm not sure how we do that at this point, but we got to think about it, because we can't have Jason trying to run a budget and then all of a sudden getting whacked for $40,000 more for medical than we had not anticipated.
I would also ask, in talking about this, that the county attorney look very seriously at the what's it called? The program where we don't the drug court, and
Yeah,
trying to come to grips with that. There's also a new program that hasn't been adopted, but probably will be within the next year, on eliminating felonies from circuit court. And I think that we need to have some, you know, some sort of thought process on the part of the county attorney to how would that office deal with that? What's happening with it? Something else just went flying right through my head. It must be the page. But you know, these are things that you know, we need to plan. I know what it was. The Register of Deeds, the 2 people that are running, think we ought to have our stuff online. I understand there's some sort of cost for that. I realize that, you know, that whether or not that is approved depends on the budget, but if it's not in there, there's nothing, you know, there's no progress that can be made on that. And, you know, I also realize that between Election Day and January, the 3 sitting commissioners are going to be the 3 sitting commissioners, and the Register of Deeds is going to be the Register of Deeds. But, you know, you just need to look and think beyond, if you could, what's happening. But I mean, these are all things that could impact the budget, and it's you know, it's one of those things, every 2 years, we want to try to keep going. Yes, Representative Crawford.
Thank you. Most towns have capital improvement plans, and they have a committee that meets and goes over the wishes and the demands and the everyday operation of a town, and what equipment they have on hand, what equipment's going to go out of date. And I know probably some of your departments do that as a department, but maybe the county really should look at a CIP committee or whatever could help out to look at the county as a whole. And then if you have your capital reserve fund for those capital purchases, you can plan ahead for them. To get a bill for $40,000, I know you can't predict that kind of thing for the jail. But when boilers are going to be going, that's something that you can predict and know that cost is coming down the road. So I don't know what it would take or what you would prefer to do, but I think a capital improvement plan for the county is conducive to planning ahead, instead of all of these, we need this and we need that, and how come you really should know your equipment and all your departments on what has to be replaced at some point.
Representative Cordelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there are some recommendations in the performance audit in that regard, and also in regard to the budget being more than just a financial document, but serving as a work plan document also. And I would urge the commissioners to look at that and to take that to heart as they're developing the budget process, that it's not just a static budget, but it should serve as a work plan for the commissioners as well as the departments for the year as well.
Okay. Representative Butler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It seems to me that if it's possible for us to talk about the transition of money in the jail budget today, even though we don't have anything in front of us, I'd like to at least hear what that might be and whether or not it makes sense to work on it today.
I would certainly be open to hearing what they have to say, but I don't think we can work on it today.
Okay.
Jason brought one for everybody.
Yeah. A quick comment. I've talked with Stratford County. Rather than Carroll County setting up a separate drug court, Stratford County is willing to provide some assistance with the drug court. And we would ask them to provide us with a dollar value as to what it would cost. The other thing I'd like to bring up is...
That's, by the way, that's what you should be doing.
It would be nice to be able to rely on our county attorney to help us out when we get into some legal matters. I think there could be some improvement there.
Okay. Someone want to talk about the jail?
Sure.
Did you put it enough? You did.
I think there's two accounts. One is maintenance. There was some unforeseen maintenance repairs to the tune of $15,000. And we would take $15,000 out of the meals. Because the population is down in the budget, we had money left over in the meals account. So we transfer $15,000 from the meals into the maintenance. The other one was equipment repairs of roughly $4,000. We'd take that from the supplies that we get from the nursing home because they were able to purchase items that were less cost than what the nursing home could get them for. It's just those two right now.
Oh, so this is not for next year's budget?
No, this is right now.
Right. That's certainly within the scope of... Representative Algren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, the meals line is just an interdepartmental transfer line, so we really can't use that as a line to transfer money out of. In past budgets, I've actually footnoted that meals line could not be touched because it is not. It's just money that you're paying to the nursing home, quote unquote. That's not really money we're spending out. So you need to find a different line. Because when you take essentially when you take away the money from the meals line, then correspondingly you should take away the revenue from the nursing home.
Why not?
Because that's
If we're not
not why
gonna
we
use
put-
it,
because
then why
that's
should we
not
give it
what-
to the nursing home?
No, I think that what he's saying is,
Doesn't exist.
you have to have a balance. Okay, so you should also drop the revenue line in the nursing home.
Yep.
Okay, you can't just eliminate, okay, and then what you do is you send Howie's stuff out of balance.
Yep.
So, right? I mean, these are things that when you try to make decisions about these things, and again,
I fully understand.
okay?
Yeah.
So I certainly understand where Representative Algren is coming from. Representative McConkey.
If I could, for the superintendent, could you just list briefly, what was that, 30-something thousand dollars worth of unanticipated? Could you tell me what that money's for, please?
Sure.
In a brief.
Yeah, brief, we have, the boiler system went down, all the hoses on one of the boilers, $7,500. The HVAC system went down, about $4,500. There were several other issues with the boilers, again, that went down.
How long's the jail been there?
Some security stuff on our outside rec area that had to be fixed. Some repairs on one of the lifts to do all our ceiling lights had to be repaired. A lot of maintenance issues that came up over this year.
Thank you.
How old is the jail?
13 years?
Jail? No, it's less than 10,
9.5,
just less than 10.
No. I've been around for 10 years. The jail was here when I got here.
It's what?
I said, I've been here for 10 years, and the jail was built when I got here, so it was a little more than 10. That's why I think it's about 12 or 13 years, because my first subcommittee was with the jail. I went to the new jail, I never saw the old jail.
I'll give you a break, so I've been here 12, because the years that I didn't run. But I think just about the time I came in on the first time, they were finishing up on it, but I'm not sure that.
I think it's something we could find out relatively.
Yeah, but anyhow, we don't need to have a discussion about, but I think that what we're talking about is that these major repairs occurring in 12 years, you as a homeowner would not be happy. And so, we've had significant structural financial problems with the jail. And so, whatever you do in the future, do not buy a modular jail. Did I say that?
Except that the difference between a commercial and
No.
large endeavor and
Brendo's
a
here.
home is very different. And
Brendo.
12 years for repairs
Oh,
on
you're
a
right.
boiler is not
You're
surprising to me.
They say an average of 1 year considered equals 3 years to a jail. We run 24/7 every day of the week, so none of that stuff shuts off. The building's used all the time, unlike your house. You can turn the heat off in the summer. But it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, wear and tear of those years. It needs to have, like you said, capital improvement. We need to look forward in the future, putting these things in.
Just a quick comment. Have we been doing do we have an annual maintenance plan that looks at all of these things and I guess you call it preventive maintenance?
From what I understand, ma'am, since I came on, we're looking at it, the budget was about $20,000 for maintenance, and submitted was $43,000 for maintenance needs. And every year it's been higher maintenance needs asked for, and it's been cut down every year, so
Okay,
$20,000 on an $8 million building is
Okay.
not a lot of money.
well, I don't know. Okay, so now we get to the hard part. As I have listened to what's being said today, we are racking up a lot of additional dollars. And I haven't heard anything about any decreases in the budget. So, my question becomes, does the delegation have any thought process on where we would like the budget to go? As I have, last time, if I'm not mistaken, we had asked for level funding, and the budget came in, I think, between 8 and 10% higher than the year before. So are we in your, in your thought process? And of course, what happens when that occurs is we come at loggerheads. And that obviously doesn't sit well with us or with you. And so, what is your target this year for a projected budget increase, having listened to the things that you're talking about?
Madam Chair, may I just ask a process question?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the process that the department heads come to the commissioners and explain what their situation is, what their goals are, what their needs are, what their challenges are, and explain what they need to run their department, and then the commissioners create a budget based on their best
Right.
understanding of that, and then they present it to us for us to review. But wouldn't it be premature for us to decide ahead of time what we thought those expenses would be, or for us to expect them to decide ahead of time before they've gathered their information?
There are two competing priorities in what you've just discussed. Okay. As a department head, you believe, and I believe, that your responsibility is to ask for the moon.
I disagree with that.
Well, I've heard just here today,
I
okay?
think that's disrespectful to the department heads.
Well, thank you, I don't. I mean, I think that if I was a department head and I knew that I had A, B, C, and D, then I'm going to ask for it, okay? And, well, maybe you wouldn't, maybe you have a different philosophy. But if the commissioners have not provided any guidance as to where they want to go with the budget, recognizing, as I said, I don't think we want to be at loggerheads. But I also don't think that either the commissioners or the delegation can go to the taxpayers and say, I need a 15% increase. Okay, so we will agree to disagree about whether or not the commissioners need a target or a thought process that says, I'm looking at this. Because we did have a tax increase last year. And I know that, inflation is down around 1%. Not much above that, and we've got to think about, where we are. And again, I realize that the commissioners, the responsibility of deciding what and how much the taxes go up is sitting around this table, because we're the ones that approve the budget. But I don't want to get into this terrible situation that I believe occurred, and I think many of us would agree that we need to not do that. So I certainly want to recognize that we are not going to include everything that you might want to in our budget. but to look at it in relationship to where we are, where we need to go. And it may be a 5-year plan that says A, B, C, and D. Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I believe the question went to the commissioners, what their direction is that they have given their department heads. One of the first points that I spoke about when we spoke of the performance audit was an organization the size and complexity of Carroll County requires ongoing and active management by the commissioners. I believe the question from the lady was that, what is it that the commissioners are doing going into the process? What direction have you given your department heads? That's what I'm interested in hearing.
In the past years, we said 2 to 3% increase.
And if I could follow up, is this year the directive from the commissioners again 2 or 3%?
From my point of view, yes. I don't know about the other two.
If I could. What is the commissioner's position? The commissioners have gone out and have asked the department heads for their tentative budgets for next year.
No, we have not.
You have not done that?
Right.
Okay.
Probably will go out this Wednesday.
Okay. And when you do, it will be a unified position by the commissioners with that statement?
I hope so.
Well, it would be a majority.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to look at the clock. We have 1 hour left. And I want to, I think we've kind of expressed sort of the kinds of things that some of us are interested in. And we've had some discussion about making sure we recognize the needs of the departments, and that the department heads have certainly the best knowledge of what they need and where they're going. And some departments may go up 30%, some departments may go down 30%. And I think that, that's the kinds of things that we need to look at. And that I think that's obviously a responsibility of the commissioners. I'd like to jump down, if I could, to the update on the financial audit and where that stands, if we have...
Yeah, it's not here.
No.
I believe Representative Cardelli got a copy of the financial statement for 2010. Maybe he could make some comments on it.
I know we got the financial statement. But
You want the audit?
What we didn't get were the words that went with it. Is that correct?
Right. There are notes attached, but there is no document as to the adjustments that were made. Like we received earlier in the summer, where the auditing firm provided us a list with anticipated transactions and adjustments to the financial statements. That was not received. From my review, and I did also get a copy of the MS-45 document that the county provides to the state with the year-end and beginning of year financial information. And it looks to me, and maybe the commissioners have looked at it in more detail, I would hope so, that the general fund is reduced by over $800,000 from what was submitted to the state with the 2010 MS-45 document. And I'm sure the commissioners have gone over this in more detail, so I would be, interested in, what their interpretation of the financial statements were, because I believe you have signed off on them.
We have.
I would suggest, commissioners, if you need to have Kathy come up, that someone from your staff here go down and get her, and we'll go on to the
Okay,
nursing
Kathy.
home. So she can tell her about 20 minutes or so, okay? So let's go to the nursing home.
She's gonna tell them about that.
And before we, about 20 minutes, before we go too far on that, Representative Algren is not running again, and I would like to thank you very much for your service and for the things that you have done, both here at the county and down at the State House. And
You can
I
speak
always,
on probation.
I always look at
Okay.
Representative Algren as my nursing home guru, and has certainly done a lot of work in that area, along with his subcommittee. But it's been a pleasure working with you, Chris, and we certainly wish you all the best, and hopefully you'll find that without having to devote time in Concord and here, that you will have plenty of extra time to sit around and enjoy the lake view.
Thank you very much.
So, if we could, I know you've had a couple meetings, or at least one, and so if we could hear what's been going on and what your recommendations are.
Sure. Well, what we've been doing primarily is working with the annex. We did a review of the numbers so far with the nursing home, and they are, the expenses are, within the budget, and the revenues, we're able to bounce back, at least at that last report, which was a couple months old. But as far as the annex is concerned, there's basically been two facets of it. One we covered fairly well, I think, at our last meeting, as I recall, what we were doing with the core. We approved to do the repairs on the roof and the core, at least on 10,000 square feet of it. And we approved the demolition of the two wings, which hopefully is proceeding. But I'm not sure if we actually have that bid finalized, and the contract is made, but it was on its way at our last conversation of it.
Could I ask Bob to report on that?
Please.
The laundry room improvements that you allowed us to do are almost complete, and the demolition of the wings is happening as we speak. They've been actively severing the mechanicals of the wings the last couple of weeks, and last week they started actively tearing off the roof and taking it down. So the structure is still standing at this moment, but it won't be for much longer.
Okay,
That's it.
that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Which is great news. I thought that would be the news. I just forgot to confirm it last Monday. So at our meeting, we received an update from the Starting Home Group, which is the formal name of the Veterans Homeless Shelter that, and they're investigating the renovation of the other two wings. They came in to give us an update, and the summary of that is that they have not really been able to obtain a lot of money so far, but they've been promised about $15,000, with about $2,500 of it being in actual cash donations. They are, they have some fundraisers put together. They are working with Kickstarter, which is an online money raiser. They are hopeful that they will get money from that. A good portion of the money, of course, would be through federal grant, and that they should know more about around the December 1st timeframe. There's no money right now to get the grant, so they can't apply for the grant, so they're kind of in that conundrum. But they expect that on December 1, that hopefully that ball will be rolling, so they will be able to submit a plan. We basically asked them to give us a plan, which they did, which is a fine plan for at this point. You know, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before they actually start driving nails. And we asked them to submit a budget for how much it would cost for the renovation, which they put together and supplied. And that amount is about $1.5 million is what they think it's going to take to put this together. We asked them to also give us a yearly operating budget with their anticipated costs, and they did do that. They did put that together. So it looks like they're progressing in some of the steps that they need to do, to keep the ball rolling. Although, frankly, the amount of money they've been able to raise so far is very limited. We also, they were a little gray in what our April deadline was about. We tried to assure them that we can't guarantee what the next delegation is going to do, because they do what they do. However, that when we passed our vote, that we expected on that day that we didn't expect it to be complete, but we at least expected to have a good feeling that the project had a chance of being completed, and that they should, work toward that goal. And then also as a subcommittee, we asked them to provide us with a monthly update, because we felt like a lot of the angst that was generated was just because we didn't know where they were. So, they gave us a good idea where they were, and we're hoping that if they just let us know monthly of how that's progressing, we'll have a better feel for, when that April deadline comes, of a good decision, what the good decision is to make. They seem well-intended. It's a well-intended project, but it does look like they have their work cut out for them. So we voted unanimously to ask them to present us with an update that would be similar to what we asked them to bring us. And they're willing to come see the new delegation, when that time comes, to maybe give a more formalized update of where they are. So that was what we came up with from the Veterans Home. I think, just as a little sidebar, what we tried to do, and I'm pretty sure everyone saw kind of like that everyone saw the commissioner's vision of what the annex is going to be. We saw it at the last meeting, right? Mm-hmm. So that was, the hope there was that we could kind of look at that project as what it's going to look like maybe when they get done, instead of everything just being piecemeal. Whether or not what we do in the front. But I think that what we heard from, and I'm kind of being verbose here, but what we heard about as far as capital projects and about what the budget, the performance audit talked about, would be that was what I was trying to do with this. I was trying to make us realize that this is probably really our next capital budget issue, and that we need to keep moving forward with it, and that should be a major point on what we were doing for the next budget. I know that a lot of the money that we're using, we're continuing, we have like $1 million, we hope, still, for the rest of it, for the rest of the improvements. That's where we're going to use the money, but still, that this is going forward what we need to look at. Is there any other questions? Or probation. I apologize. The probation was was a little in flux because the commissioners were going to open the bids, I believe,
The next day,
the next day, and then they were going to, carry forward the information to the probation as far as that was concerned. And so I don't know if, how they've been able to take action by sending the information to probation or not.
Somebody want to make some comments?
Yes. Thank you, Representative Waldron. We opened the bids this last Wednesday, and we had 2 bids. One was for, one was $54,000, and one was for $58,000. The one for $54,000 didn't include air conditioning. By the way, I've sent all this information to the chairman, and I would have hoped that you people would have gotten a copy of it, but we're up against the wall. If you want these people in here, 53,000 from one and 58,400 from another. The 52 didn't include air conditioning, which Mr. Murray went out and got his own pricing, was roughly $10,000. So we're talking about $60,000 package. Probation wants to be in here the 1st of December. You people have got to do something about it. You're the only ones that can lease this piece of property. And so I've suggested to the chairman that call it what you might, deputize us or whatever. Give us a range that you want for the rent based on the bid and what you want for the space, and then allow us to say, okay, we'll make this contract or we won't, because if we've got to wait for you people to come back again in December, it's past the deadline and we've lost an opportunity to have somebody here for a minimum of 5 years, and probably if we get them in here and do a good job, we'd have them forever. I want to thank Melissa. She dug up the information on what they're paying now. They're paying $425, I think it is. These are off the top of my head. Do you have them right there, Melissa?
I do.
And it's what, 700 feet, 800 feet, not very many square feet.
If I could.
Certainly.
According to the state of New Hampshire list, they pay an annual rent per square foot of $19.66. So that works out to an annual total of $8,334.72 for 424 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
What would the square footage be of the new space?
I have no idea.
I'd have to get
Depending
out
on
my
your
drawing.
rendering, it's about 1,600.
1,800 feet. They would like a 5-year lease at a minimum. At $60,000, that's $1,000 a month just for renovation of the office for the 5 year, each month for 5 years. I also suggested that perhaps we try to get them to bite on a 10-year lease where we could lower the price. It would take us longer to recoup our money, but at least we'd have somebody in there for 10 years and we would, at some point, cover our costs.
Okay. First of all, I'm not sure, excuse me, I'll be right with you, that the delegation approved them going there. I believe we asked you to explore it.
And we have.
Okay, and you have. And so
Now it's up to you.
now it's our decision as to whether or not we want to do the probation thing. And the cost has been identified for the renovation that's necessary. But I didn't hear where the money to do that was going to come from.
It was in the email that I sent you, Madam Chairman.
Okay,
I built it in over and above the going rough price.
No, I'm talking about the initial, I mean,
$60,000.
where's the 60,000 coming
Okay,
from?
I'm with it. I thought my impression was that it was going to come from the leftover bond money. That's all we'd heard about for
Yeah.
2 years.
And you have gotten an opinion from the bond person that you could use this money for non-nursing home things?
I believe you did before I got here, David, did it was, as long as it was for construction to do with the nursing home.
Yeah, it could go for capital expenditures. It doesn't necessarily have to go to the nursing home.
Well, except that if I remember correctly, the auditor has said that that money was only for the nursing home, and that it was supposed to be part of their stuff. But anyhow, yes, Chris, I'll get out of this conversation.
Well, as far as the uses of the money, it can be used for basically two things. It can be used for other capital expenditures, or it can be used for interest on the current bond. It's either the interest or the principal, one of the two, but not both. And we did use some of the money to do that 1 year, in a sense. You know, we used it to offset taxes. But so I believe it's perfectly within the statutes to use the money that way to do major renovations. But
May I just say, major renovations that do not have any effect on the nursing home?
yes, yeah. I mean, we could use that money and build a garage. We can, as long as we're building something capital,
Yeah.
not using it to pay salaries or anything.
I didn't bring my bond.
Yeah. Well, I might be able to look it up here. But
You're right.
But as far as where we're at in the procedure, what we need to do is we need to send the amount of money that you've gotten, about that $65,000 for the renovations and the HVAC. We need to send that to the state, because they will accelerate their rent on their first lease term to help compensate us for our capital expenditure of this $60,000. So that's really where we're at in the step. We need to send them what it's going to cost, and then they present it, and then you can negotiate with them what the monthly rent's going to be based on what our additional capital expenditures are. Once you get that lease, then you can bring it to us, and we can approve it or disprove it. Now, I mean, that's basically where we're at in the timeline. Now, if you need maybe some guidance from the delegation about what we would think would be a reasonable rent in order to move forward, that'd be another story. But I really urge you to send that money to the state so they can then tell us what they're willing to pay us.
It's going to be done by the 1st of December.
And we also need to know, and that what that thing doesn't tell us is that monthly rent, does that include utilities, or does that not include utilities? Is that just for the space, or does that include heat and water, heat, water, electricity? What does that monthly number include?
And there, if I could, there's an additional, it doesn't detail all of that, and it would take some more research at the Division of Plant Management, but there is an additional $700 per year that the state pays for that space in Westboro, but it doesn't say what it's for.
Okay.
So something's not included, something.
Thank you. I've got the answers as I've been listening to you, the questions I had, except I'd like to make one comment. You indicated that perhaps you'd give them a 10-year lease at a reduced rate to get them to take it. Boy, that doesn't sound like it's very good business to me, with inflation and everything else coming up over the next 10 years, and in the meantime, you're cutting their rent. So I would just be very careful there.
You're going to do fine.
May I answer that, Madam Chairman?
You may.
Harry, what I suggested was a lower rate for the 10 years. I didn't suggest cutting it. Instead of paying $1,000 a month for renovations for 5 years, it would only be $500. So I lowered the rate for the for a straight 10-year lease, rather than a reduction of having it go 5 years and then reduce it after 5 years.
Well, would that 10-year rate allow for any increase in rates over 10 years that you're talking about?
No, but that would be negotiated into the lease at the
Because,
beginning.
well, then, you know as well as I do,
It's gonna
it's
go
gonna be
up.
more expensive in 10 years. I mean.
Absolutely.
Representative McConkey, and then Representative Melton.
Thank you. To the commissioners, I'm looking at perhaps the original, I don't see a date on it. Carroll County Commissioners are seeking proposals, pricing for converting the eating area in the old nursing home to office space. The project will include, but not limited to, creating 3 petitioned offices, create 1 fully enclosed office, install 2 single doors, erect 2 drywalls at a total of 74 linear feet of drywall partition, put in 3 air conditioners on the outside of the building, create a reception area. In your bids that came back, and someone well, first of all, is this the same bid that you sent out the second time, request for proposals?
Yes,
So if I might comment.
I believe it is, Mark.
Okay. So if I might comment, your individual that came back without air conditioning wasn't responding to the list that was given to him.
That's correct.
So with air conditioning, it was $60,000 or $65,000?
60. Well, it was just,
58.
Okay, we'll call it $60,000.
58.
In
58,375, Representative.
Okay, so 58,375. Now, in the end, when your last statement on the top said, will contain but not limited to, are you positive that your contractors have in that cost, because you're creating new space inside an open area? Do you have electric tied in there? Is
Yep.
there a new meter service? Is there new wiring there for
Telephone jacks.
internet and everything else they need? Is that all included in your 58,000?
I'm comfortable saying yes, but Bob is here and can, want to answer, Bob, and pass
Sure.
those out?
Yeah, if this is an appropriate time.
I believe it does, Representative.
Okay, let's go on.
Go by a couple more.
Oh, you have more, okay. Go ahead.
Those questions should all be answered right here.
So, in your $58,000 proposal, and you're saying 5 years at $1,000 a month to pay back that expense, is there more monies there for the good people in Carroll County to be making a return on their money that they're spending out? Like, think when I'm renting space, I'm not only paying my taxes, I'm putting something in my pocket.
What is the $1,000 you're referring to?
I have a note here, 5 years, $1,000 a month will pay off, I'm assuming, your initial $58,000. What's your proposed?
That's, I don't know what you're looking at, but $1,000 a month would only pay, over a 5-year lease, would only pay back roughly what we paid for renovations.
Okay, so I apologize.
I believe my
What-
note to the chairman said something like 1,600 to 2,000, which would give us some revenue.
Okay, so you have a proposed rental rate then?
No,
Yes.
it doesn't. That says would be offered, no, it says, agree to, and again, this came from, Commissioner Babson. I wasn't sure whether the other commissioners had voted on this or not, or they, agreed with it. But he said he would recommend the delegation agree to a rent between $1,500 and $2,000 per month, not including utilities, for a 5-year deal.
I
And
also
if-
said, I think I said in there that
and
this
if-
was my opinion.
Yeah, well, right. And
Well, I don't want you to think that they voted with me, which
Right.
was the indication. They didn't.
Right,
That
and
was just my opinion.
that's why I didn't forward it to the delegation because it wasn't the commission's position. And he also said another option would be a 10-year lease at $1,000 to $1,500, not including utilities. So.
If I could have one final question.
Yep, Nate.
What is at present, they're renting 424 square feet. Has probation department said they're looking forward and they'll pay the same rate for 1,600 square feet?
No, they haven't committed themselves to anything, price-wise, except that they'd like to be here. And I can tell you, the facility they're in isn't as big as this room, maybe half the size of this room.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unless we seem to be going around in circles here. I think Representative Algren has identified what really needs to be done as expeditiously as possible. We don't even know if there's any flexibility on the part of the state in terms of bargaining for this. So let's go ahead, send them down the proposal and see what they're willing to pay. We're going from 400 square foot to 1,600 square foot. You're quadrupling your space. Let's see what they do. At that point, we'll make a decision as to go or no go. But I think we ought to, at this point, send it down and move on.
Yep.
Okay, so Representative Algren?
Just for edification, when we met with the state, they told us that they typically pay about $12 to $14, I can't remember for sure which number it is, a square foot. So the numbers that we're talking about are at least, if it's, say it's only 1,600 square feet times only $12 a square foot, which I think are the lower numbers, that's $19,200 a year, divide that by 12, and you get $1,600 a month. So my feeling is that they're willing to come back with a number of about $1,600 a month. I don't know if that includes utilities or not. That's why that part I don't recall. But they're also willing to chip in a little bit more than that, I believe, for capital expenditure.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it seems like we can come up with something that's reasonable for the taxpayer.
Could I have a motion? Oh, or did you have
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
We had discussed earlier the issue of the septic system and water. Will this work in that system or will it overload it?
I can only give an opinion that it'll be a minimum impact. You're only talking about office people and a few transients that come in and out of those offices during the day.
But that goes, one follow, how about if the veterans home goes in for homeless vets?
It's a different story.
That's different.
May had an impact,
Different story.
a significant impact, but as far as probation,
I
which was the
believe
question.
I believe that that's a question, Representative Nelson, that the commissioners are charged with.
My point, Madam Chairman, is is an all or none on this demolition of this building for the other parts? In other words, if the probation takes it for, say, a 10-year lease, then what happens to the other two wings? Would they, if not, it's a no-go, could they be ripped off without a problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they can. So, Representative Wagner?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, can I have a motion to the effect that we
Move forward.
tell the commissioners to contact whoever they contact and get some sort of
Doesn't make any difference what they do.
something or other on what probation is willing to pay. And then we will have to meet again prior to November 4th to agree that we can support this or we can't.
Well,
Go ahead,
Madam Chairman?
just a moment. Yes.
I would move that we charge the commissioners with coming back to us with a viable plan relative to capital improvement and rental with the probation department for us to make a final determination.
That's like, those are much better words.
And doesn't have to be before November 4th, before Thanksgiving. we're still gonna be,
Well, that,
Point of order, they want to be in here December 1st.
They gotta be.
We've got an 8-week window to
so
fix the
before
place.
before
That's why I
Halloween.
sent this email. Have to act today
Soon.
some way.
Their lease is up, that's why they're trying.
Got it,
yeah,
got it.
and I certainly understand that, and that's why,
Yep, you're right.
next week is Columbus Day weekend, on that Monday.
Mhm. So maybe even the following Monday.
What did they say?
Whenever
Job
they get,
done.
whatever they get back, and they tell me that they're ready, then we'll
Said they both could do it by December 1st.
we'll schedule a meeting.
I was just hoping that this meeting you
Oh,
would
wait,
present
do I
us
have a-
with that project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Representative Crawford. Okay, now,
Go ahead.
or somebody was going to say something.
I was just saying, I was hoping that you would have had that proposal to us today, since you know now the capital cost. But I understand that you didn't feel that you didn't have the charge to do that.
Any other comments? Yes, Representative Conkey.
Thank you. I've made this comment before, that sometimes the haste to put a deal together is not the best deal one can make. So if the commissioners are going to go forward and with this proposal to find out how much and how much space they need, if they want to move, what that cost should be, they should, in my opinion, should have already done that, or should be doing that right now. And if they want to do that and bring that back to us, we'll make a determination. I just hope they're not going to have to count on my vote to get that forward.
My only comment on this is I want to have assurances from the Nursing Home Maintenance Department that they have sufficient space left in the core to take care of their requirements. And that is my concern, because they have been cramped for too many years and have not had the ability to do the things that they need to do. So I will not ask for that today, but when you come back with the proposal, I expect to have a good answer for that. And I will try to come down before that to take a look at the space that's being projected for them. So that's my only thing. So.
Can we do a voice vote on this?
No, I think we better record it, only because this is, I mean, I realize we'll have, here we go, we'll have another meeting, but this is to send them forth to do good.
Thank you.
If you need help reading my shorthand, let me know.
No. Charge the commission with coming back with a viable plan relative to capital improvements and renovation, to approve a final plan regarding probation space. Representative Algren.
Yes.
Representative Bucco's not here. Representative Butler, yes. Representative Chandler's not here. Representative Cordelli?
Yes.
Representative Crawford?
Yes.
Representative Lavender?
Yes.
Representative McConkey?
No.
Representative Merrow?
Yes.
Representative Nelson?
Yes.
Representative Schmidt?
Yes.
Representative Ticehurst?
Yes.
Representative Umberger?
Yes.
Representative White?
Yes.
Representative Wright is not here. That looks like 11 to 1.
So, Commissioner Sorensen, you will let me know when you get the information back from probation.
We'll have it by the end of the week. When would
so-
you like to meet again?
I would like you to let me know, and we will schedule a meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Madam Chairman, will that be distributed to the whole delegation, so the delegation has more than one day to take a look at that and
Yep.
consider the viability?
I would suggest that the commissioners send that out to the entire delegation. Okay? What the proposal was, and what what it looks like. And also, I know you have indicated that you'll take the money from the nursing home bond, but I want to see a repayment schedule to the bond money. Because it's kind of like a loan. It's not a, and we're getting rent, and so we need to see a repayment schedule that goes along with that. So, yes.
I just want to bring up one item when we were discussing the nursing home and the adaptive reuse for the committee that's working on that. Distributed, and I see it sitting on tables, is a small rendering of what their proposal is. I want to make note that the committee is no longer looking at a new roofing structure as shown on top of the old wings, and that they are going to continue to use a repaired roof structure that's already over there. I think you really need to know that.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kathy, for coming up. And I would ask, the commissioners were not sure what was, the update was on the financial audit, and so in depth. So if you would, please come forward and.
Sure. Folier's office did the financial statement for the 2010. They sent us a draft. We have some corrections. They redid it. They needed from me what they call a management discussion and analysis paper, which I sent to them 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. They sent it back with some changes. I sent it again last Friday. And this morning I got an email from Adam with a couple more questions on this management discussion and analysis. And I told him I would get him the answers today. And I asked him, I said, you have everything else in order to print it? And he said, yes, they have everything they need. So that's where we are with that. They sent it in draft, and I know Representative Cordelli asked if I could put it on the web. And it has draft on it, and it has some areas that are highlighted, and I told him when we got a clean copy, I'd put that on the web.
And I don't have a problem with that. So, 10 is about ready.
Yep, yeah, and they've been working on 11 and 12 and 13 all along.
Okay. And so the adjustments that need to be made as a result of 10 will be done in 11?
What they're going to do is, because the way the systems run, we can actually, because they're going to hit, whether they'll hit the fund balance or balance sheet accounts, those will be done with the 13. Not to change what took place in 13, but because of when you roll a year, those entries get closed out, and you can't go back in our system.
So any adjustments that need to be made for 11, or 10, 11, and 12 will all be reflected in 13?
Right, but they won't be for the year 13.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So.
Okay, so.
I've had that discussion with Ron, and he fully supports that decision.
So when we looked at the 10 thing, and we saw the imbalance of $800,000, okay, that shows up there. And I assume in the management report, it's explained as to why that occurred.
Right, because it was, we actually got that cash, but the auditors feel that it should be spread out. So we have that as a value to our assets, but as far as it being, quote, revenue, it's going to be spread out. But it's an asset.
Representative Cordelli.
Am I correct in looking at this, though, that the general fund is reduced by $800,000+?
Right,
Right, okay.
but they increased,
Right.
see, the nursing home
Right,
piece of it.
right,
So-
because it was interest prepaid
Right.
on the bond,
Right,
right,
so
which
we
should
did-
have reflected in the enterprise nursing home side rather than general fund side.
Right, and the bottom line, they combined anyways in the long run, but also, I mean, maybe I'm getting a little off here, but the bond payments, we've always put them in the long-term debt and long-term interest under the 100 fund. What they would like us to do is to put it in the 300 fund going forward.
Okay, so you're gonna do that for 15?
14, for the 15 budget, yeah. There's certain things that they asked us to change, so I'm going to implement them for this 15 budget.
Okay. Representative Conklin?
Representative Cordelli had a follow-up.
Okay.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Two related questions. One, do you have any expected date that will have the bottom line for the 2010, 11, 12 adjustments and the impact on the general fund, which might impact budgetary discussions down the road? And two, what is the Commissioner's plan for letting DRA know about the situation, as I know you had earlier, at my suggestion, said you wanted to wait until all the, at least the 2010 audit was completed before alerting them to any possible changes in the information that the county has supplied to them. So I was just wondering what your current plan was in that regard.
To do exactly that.
I'm not sure to do exactly what.
We've been keeping them informed of the progress, and I will ask Mr. Bollier exactly when we will get, because I don't get that clear answer.
Okay.
So I will ask him exactly when he will do that.
So in reality, the fact that our reporting was an error in the past probably has no effect on what the state worries about. Where we have run into our problem is when we submitted the 2014, or whatever one we just submitted in September of this year. If that one is off, that's where we have our problem. Because that's the one that they will use in October to set the tax rate.
Right.
The fact that we had problems between 10 and 14 make no difference. Because we've already paid those taxes, it's all, you know.
Yeah, and their Bollier's office is clarifying all that to make sure it's all clear.
But
I'm
that's,
working with another person there.
but
on
it,
that.
it does, you know, where we have our problem is, in my humble opinion, that we applied X number of dollars to the tax reduction, and we're not sure at this point if that's in fact how much we have. So,
And I should have an answer for that this week.
okay, well, they're setting the tax rate
Right.
this week.
Right, so
So-
he should, you know, so. you
Well,
know.
maybe not this week, but certainly this month. Representative Conklin.
Thank you. I'll go a little more simplistic, because I keep hearing different terms here. My bills are due the 10th of this month.
Mhm.
And when I start writing out for my contractors, I look at what my bottom line is, what I have for a balance before I write checks. Which I think most people do around their houses when they pay their bills. If I hear this correctly, our reserve that we were under the impression was somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10% of our operating budget, which is a recommendation that we are supposed to keep in reserve.
Mhm.
Does it appear at this point in time that that reserve, from what we know right now, could be as light as $800,000? That would appear to be what it is.
What, I think that what Kathy has said, if I might, is that the $800,000 will show up under the nursing home account, okay, the, whatever you call that.
Enterprise.
Enterprise, thanks.
Instead of general.
Yeah, it'll be over in the enterprise fund.
So we will be whole. What we have in reserve, what we understand right now we have in reserve is in that 7 to 10% range, and we're not concerned about that?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's
I
my,
just
that's
said-
my question.
I just said it will show up on the nursing home side, but not all at once. It'll show up over 5 years.
Well, because it's shown as an asset and not it's not we got the cash, it's an asset on the balance sheet, but it's restricted.
If I could.
Sure.
And then one of our other questions is that we keep spending from the reserve to lower taxes. But we still don't know how many months later this is, how big that reserve is. If indeed the commissioners find out in the next week or so that our reserve is below that level, which is comfortable by the state, and even if it's going to take us 5 years to bring that account to an amount that would then meet that, what is going to be the plan of the commissioners to make that fund whole? Are you going to raise taxes to do that? I would hope that you have a plan that you people are talking about
I'm not,
to
I'm
come
not,
to that point.
I think that they need a plan.
I haven't heard a plan, so I'm hoping that they can assure me that they have a plan.
And that it will be presented December 10th, when they talk about the budget. Right?
I wish I could operate my business that way.
I have a comment.
Certainly.
Yeah, Representative Humberger said it doesn't matter 2010, only 2014 matter what we sent into DRA. Is that correct? But if they sent in every year the wrong information, based on that information, DRA set a tax rate.
Right, but we can't go back and redo the tax rate for those years.
Done.
It's done, it's over with, the money's been collected, and you can't go back. So what we need to do is to correct it for 14, so that as we go forward, we can now establish the appropriate tax rate. And it's, I think that, yes, we need to explain to the state that those numbers were wrong, but it has no effect whatsoever, and there's nothing that we can do about the past. We can only start and make sure that our 14 information is correct and the correct tax rate is set. And that's why I say it doesn't matter. It matters, but it's not. It has no effect on the setting of the tax rate for 14.
But what about the taxpayers if they come and file a lawsuit because maybe they pay too many taxes, right?
I think that they may be underpaid, Asha, is what we're...
I think we're jumping through a lot of...
Did you have a question about what the budget was up from 13 to 14, the percentage? Someone sent me a text asking that question.
No, I didn't ask
Okay.
about, it had nothing to do with the budget, it had to do with the proposal.
Okay.
Okay. All right. As no one has anything of great importance?
Just one quick comment, if I might. The situation we're in now is because financial statements and financial audits have not been done since 2009. And just so the delegation knows, I have filed legislation, an LSR, and I have some kind co-sponsors already lined up that will clarify in statutes that the county is required to do an annual audit. It was in the statutes before, but probably not in the right section. So this clarifies that, and we hope that that will pass and we won't have this situation again.
Thank you. I guess my question is, and I thought it was a very good one, was what I think Representative Mike was trying to ask was, do we believe, based on the last bank reconciliation, which I believe was, you may have but from the performance audit was from December, but you may have done others since that writing, was that when we reconciled the bank statement, that we weren't short $800,000. I think that's really Representative McConkey's question. So we're not, that's not what we're worried about. It's really an accounting issue about where it is, not that we don't have the money.
Right.
Okay.
It needs to be transferred from the general fund over
Right.
to.
Right, but I think that was what Representative McConkey's question. Should we be worried? We really don't have that money. We have the money, it just might be under a different account now.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Merrill, would you like to say anything?
No, other than I'm glad this is my last meeting.
But I hope you heard me.
I would like to say something.
You heard me say that we have one more.
Yeah, I did. I would like to say something.
I believe I don't have to come to the next meeting because you said it was my last meeting.
That was before the motion.
We have been discussing the Veterans Home, or whatever the new name is down here, and we've basically been discussing finances, but I hope at some point that all of the other things are taken into consideration. For example, if they get a government loan, then they can bring people in from anywhere. It has to be co-ed from what we were told last time. It can't be just males. What happens if there are children involved as far as the schooling is concerned? And the comment was made that if they have to send them to school, then the state that they come from is responsible for paying the bill. But if somebody comes from California here, I think we probably have a very hard time collecting the bill. And I would just like to say that I hope, and I'm a vet, and I'm just having a problem with this as far as how it's going to work and everything else is concerned. I hope that's given some very good consideration other than just the finances.
Thank you. Representative Baldwin.
Parting shot.
A parting shot?
Do you have anything that you would like to say in 2 minutes?
It's been a pleasure serving the people of Wolfboro and Tuftonboro and Moultonboro in years past. I enjoyed it very much. I found it rewarding and enriching. I wish you all good luck in the future. I may still pop in once in a while to say hello. And always please feel free to, send me an email if you have a question about something, or you might need some old salt's memory of how we used to do stuff, or whatever. What they call that, institutional knowledge, that we might be losing upon my departure. So, thank you very much.
Well, I thank you both for serving, and we appreciate your service.
Made a lot of good friends.
And I will entertain Commissioner Sorensen.
Just 2 minutes. I would like to congratulate Representative Algren for last year handling the nursing home. I think you did an excellent job. It wasn't done prior to that time, but I think you put the thing in order. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. That was one of your highlights, I think, of being a representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have to go to the convention too before we leave.
Oh, geez, yeah. Yes.
That was my point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Could I have a motion to go to convention,
So moved.
convention? Second?
Second.
Okay. We have 3 motions, the minutes, probation, and
And the
performance audit.
Can I move them all at once? We can do each one separately.
Yes, you can do all 3.
Then I would move all 3.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
So, wait a minute, I voted against one of those, so now, what do I do now? How can we do them all 3 at the
Okay.
same time when
All
we
those-
made
all right.
different votes?
All those in favor of the minutes, ratifying the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? All those in favor of ratifying the probation motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All those in favor of the performance audit motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. So all three motions are ratified. So I will adjourn.
I move to come out of convention.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, McConaughey Butler.
No, it's okay, it's just.
Okay, are there any public comments? Thank you, not seeing any?
I have one.
You're not public.
I'm not public, so how do I do that?
You don't.
Oh, you see?
Okay.
That's interesting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, second? All right.
I'm opposed, actually, because I believe we do have a member of the public here, and I just need to say that.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, she has been hired by the delegation to take minutes. And in that role, she is our employee.
I don't believe that you give up your right to address a public body as a citizen when you become an employee.
Thank you. Okay. All right. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed, nay.
Okay. One opposed to adjourn, we will adjourn. And as promised.
First.
You have to stay.
You can stay here.
Thank you.
And I gotta see Jason for 2 minutes, okay?
Melissa?